My name is Ela Kakade. I am with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. So when Paul Scharfman was saying we need to inform the state of what's going on, I am with the state. So that helps, all right? So bringing folks together to talk to our policymakers is one of the key aspects, but also deploying state funds for any of these projects so that it's truly a public-private partnership. So that said, I am really excited to introduce our next speaker, Chris Czarnik, and he has written this book, a wonderful book called Winning the War for Talent. And I've been pursuing my PhD, and I'm doing it on workforce development, and this book was absolutely defining for me in terms of the introduction of the demographics, but some of the ways of how we are not really being innovative. Chris does innovation. He's talking about how that we can really flip the script when it comes to really getting in front of different kinds of people right now. And so with that, I will let him talk, and he's a fun, dynamic speaker. I'm really excited to share him with you. He's usually all over the country, but he's from our backyard of Wisconsin up in the Fox Valley. So we're bringing him out to the Driftless area to have this conversation with you. He not supervises, but you engage with over, 2,000 CEOs across the nation, providing insight of how to gain access to different kinds of workforce pipelines. This is the guy to talk to. So when we talk about things you can take home and implement tomorrow, this is the guy. And you have an opportunity to really connect and have further conversations. But let's give you the taste of it right now. Chris Czarnik.
So this morning, right here in Platteville, a 20-year-old got up and went to work. But she didn't come to work for you. She had a pretty good idea in high school that she was not going to go to college, and she didn't really know a lot about technical schools. And frankly, her gift was not downloading Shakespeare and spitting it back out on a test. And so in high school, she got B's and C's and an occasional D. But on the weekends, she goes home and she tears apart the driveline of her 1985 Chevy Suburban. She's good with her hands. She's good with people. She's good with technology. She's really, really a talented person. But this morning, at 6 o'clock in this morning, she got up and got into the pit of the 10-minute oil change place that you used last week. She's staring up at the bottom of the $60,000 or $70,000 or $80,000 vehicle that she can never afford. She's getting dripped on by antifreeze and snow and oil. She's making $14 an hour, 20 hours a week, because the small company that she works for can't afford to pay her benefits. There's no full-time opportunity for her in the future. And when she looks up at the bottom of that vehicle, that is her future. She believes that because that's the job she found after high school. She believes, because she never got taught how to figure out where she belonged in the world of work. She believes that because she doesn't know where her technical skills actually have value in the world, she believes she is in the best job that she can get. And she's wrong. But unless you get to her, unless you show her a pathway, unless you drop breadcrumbs for her, she ain't coming. 6 months from now, she will still be in the pit of that 10-minute oil change place, staring up at a vehicle jet she can never afford, fully believing that that is the best she can get. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Czarnik, and I've spent the last 20 years figuring out why people go to and leave organizations. My life has been working with the job seekers that you desperately want to have come to you. I have done more than 20,000 job searches in my life. I've been involved in 20,000 job searches, about 3,000 of them mid-career professionals, 45 to 55-year-old adult professional people, and another 17,000 of them high school and college graduates, helping them figure out where to go to work and how to find it. As one of my favorite CEOs said, if you're fishing for talent, Chris just spent 17 years with the fish. I can tell you why they're not coming. Now this morning, I stayed at this lovely hotel. This hotel right here, attached to the conference center. Had a wonderful experience. But about 7:45 this morning, the fire alarm went off. And I'm telling you, you cannot miss the fire alarm in this hotel. Ridiculously loud. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. And so I was freaking out a little bit. I got my clothes on, I got my shoes on. I wondered if there was a fire. And I walked down the hallway, and in the hallway is the representative, the employee of this hotel. And she is calmly, not running around, not frantic, calmly telling people in the hallway, it's okay, we think it's a dryer, we'll take care of it in 5 minutes. She is calmly going through her process and her structure in order to solve the problem. She's a fantastic employee, and frankly, she's about to be promoted to be the manager of this hotel. Let me ask you a question. How did she get here? Do you believe that somewhere in her high school experience, she said, oh my gosh, if I could only work with unhappy hotel clients, my life would be complete? So how'd she get there? Like the owners are right here. You're thrilled to death you have her. But my question is, how'd you get her? Could you recreate that? Could you get other people like her to come here? And so I'm going to give you those tools today. Like in the first hour, great, unbelievable information. By the way, I love the cheese dude. He lives in my world, man. I'm a binary guy. I do data. I don't do theory. I don't do opinion. I love binary things. I love on and off. I like yes and no. I love zeros and ones. I love light switches. But dimmer switches confuse me, right? Like if I can't get to a yes or no, if I can't get to a data-based answer, I don't know what to do next. And so everything I'm going to give you today is data and stuff you can recreate. I'm going to give you stuff you can do today. This afternoon, you can start implementing this to find great talent. But I'm telling you, if you don't do it, listen, I wrote the book, Winning the War for Talent. That title is purposeful. There has to be winners and losers. And so you don't have to ask for help. You don't have to change. I'm on the road 250 days a year. One of the most common reactions I get from people my age. I'm a 60-year-old white guy. I shouldn't have to do that. They always used to come to me. Yeah, I sure hope you enjoyed that. We used to burn candles for light too. We don't do that anymore either. There's a fundamental change going on in the world. So are you going to win? Or are you going to be one of the losers? Let's figure it out. People across the country have told me, Chris, we've always been good recruiters. I don't think you have. I don't think you can call yourself a good fisherman if the fish jump in the boat for you. Like that's what happened, right? You posted a job ad, a line formed, and you got to choose who came in to kiss the ring of HR and kneel in front of the altar of your organization. That's not exactly competing. You had gold, you had money, you had benefits. There were more people than there were jobs. People needed your money more than you needed them, and so you got to choose. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. The good news is what I'm about to teach you is you're very good at competing for people. And if I can simply, in the next hour, if I can simply get you to apply all of the same ideas that you have used to get your last great customer, to get your next great employee, you will be one of the winners. Listen, because as a business, you have never once complained about competing for people. Right? If anybody walked in a business meeting and said, wow, this business thing's really hard. I mean, like we have to compete with other people for customers. You would look at them like they're nuts. Like, well, of course you have to compete for other people with customers. That's the way the capitalist system works. And then now when we have to compete for employees, people come to me and they lose their minds like they don't know what they're doing. It has been too easy for too long. You weren't good at competing for people. You were selling ice water in the middle of the desert. You and me, by the way, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad with you. Before I started this work 20 years ago, I was the HR manager. I was the operations manager for some of the largest paper mills in northeastern Wisconsin. I made every mistake that I'm about to tell you that you're making. I did it first. Not mad at you, mad with you. But you were selling ice water in the middle of the desert. Right? Like if you're selling ice water in the middle of the desert, you don't have to be good at it. You could have a cardboard sign with water written in crayon and spelled wrong, and you're still going to sell all the water you have. Well, now you're standing with that same exact water in the middle of Times Square, and that same sign in the middle of Times Square competing with Coke and Pepsi and Country Time Lemonade, and you're asking me why it's not working. That's okay. You're really good at this. I just have to give you some tools. Let's talk about this for a second. Here's an exercise. You don't want to just listen to me for an hour. I'm going to give you exercises that I want you to recreate in your organization tomorrow. So if you don't have a pen in your hand, this would be that moment. Although you don't have to take any notes, but there are going to be winners and losers, I guess. So you do you. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to write down the name of one position that you are currently having trouble filling or keeping filled. I don't care what it is. Entry-level machine operator, truck driver, hotel attendant, CEO, CFO, quality manager, whatever position is making you crazy today, whatever position you are currently having trouble filling or keeping filled. Thank you for playing along. Now I'd like you to do a simple business exercise. You're all business people. You know how this works. And so a simple question I ask for you is to the right of whatever name of position you wrote down, please write down the cost of having that position open for a given year. And don't you dare write down their pay and benefits, because you know better than that. We don't pay somebody $20 an hour and an additional $5 an hour in benefits to get $25 worth of value from their work. If you pay somebody $20 an hour and $5 an hour in benefits, total compensation of $25 an hour, to get $25 of value from their work, we call you a nonprofit. And that's okay, that's cool. If you're a nonprofit, if that's your goal, then that's awesome. But my guess is most of you are for-profit businesses, and so here, let me show you, if you're struggling how to figure out this number, let me help you. Because I did a little bit of finance when I was in manufacturing. Where are my manufacturing friends in the room? Awesome. You guys check me when I'm done here. Here's how we figure out manufacturing, the cost of an open position. We pay somebody $20, and by the way, I say $20 randomly, could be 13, could be 18, whatever number is yours, right? So we pay somebody $25 an hour, we pay them an additional $5 an hour in compensation, total compensation $25 an hour, in order to run our machine, which has a fully loaded burden rate of $190 an hour. When you take $190 an hour minus $25 an hour, you get $165 an hour in profit when they run that machine. That machine will not run for 2,000 hours this year if we don't fill that position, which means we take 2,000 hours times $165 an hour. That gives us a total out-of-pocket loss of $330,000 a year. We have a 50% margin on our fully loaded burden rate, which means every $25 an hour position we do not fill has an out-of-pocket or an opportunity cost of $165,000 a year. How am I doing so far? So write down a number. And if you don't know, that should tell you something. How could we not know? People are the most important thing in our organization. Really? And you can't tell me what the cost of an open position is? Because you could tell me the cost of your building, right? You could tell me the cost of heat. You could tell me the cost of lockout, tagout. You could tell me the cost of MSDS compliance. You could tell me the cost of raw materials. You could tell me the cost of maintenance on your trucks. You could tell me the cost of customer service. But the one thing that we claim is the most important thing in our whole organization, you can't tell me what the cost of an open position. Why would anybody in your organization take this labor shortage seriously unless you can show it as on a line item on your P&L? I'm suggesting, number one, I'm suggesting you take this exercise back to your organization, go talk to your accountant or CFO or whoever, and identify the cost of every open position, and then start talking about that shortage in those terms. If you had raw material shortage, you wouldn't say, well, it's the world's fault. The government's at play again. There's nothing I can do. Right? Stop it. My people on TV are telling you that nobody wants to work and everybody's lazy, and all those damn millennials went to school for their French art degree, and now they're all living in their parents' basements, on their parents' couches, delivering pizzas to each Grubhub, and nobody wants to work, and everybody's Stop it. If that were true, how do you explain the 18 people you got working for you right now? Stop it. It is not the world's fault you don't have enough people. It's yours. That's okay. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad with you. And you can fix it. Just like, listen, don't be mad at me for saying that. It's your fault. If you didn't have enough customers, whose fault would that be? Is that the customer's fault? Right? It's not, you would say, well, we're not working hard enough. We're not competing well enough. We're not out in the market well enough. We're not differentiating ourselves enough. You would say that for customers. If I can simply, by the end of this hour, if I can simply have you take every complaint and frustration about job seekers and replace it with the word customer, you will be halfway home. Guys, what are we doing blaming the job seekers? That young lady in the pit of the 10-minute oil change place, she does not want to be there. That was not her life goal. She's in that job because it was the best job that was in front of her at the moment, and it's the person who actually responded to her when she sent in a resume and cover letter. Let me show you how ridiculous this has gotten. How many people here have ever been ghosted by an applicant? Can anybody? By the way, if you lean into the questions, there's a book in it for you if you're interested. The young lady there, you had somebody ghost you? Can you describe out loud, really loud, please, what ghosting is?
Basically, when an applicant doesn't return a phone call, email, message that you reject.
Yeah, you start,
You send off for an interview, they just don't.
and sometimes you even like hire them and they don't show up, right? How rude, how unprofessional. Don't be too mad, we started it. Tell me everybody who applied for your company in the last 10 years, everybody who applied got a letter or an email back saying that you got the job or you didn't get the job. If you didn't get the job, here are the skills and abilities of the person we hired over you. Here's where you can get those skills and abilities. Here's a list of the other opportunities inside our organization that we have available to you, and we'd love to set up a time to talk with you when you have an opportunity about those other opportunities. Everybody in this room who've done that for every job seeker over the last 10 years, please raise your hand. We started it. We have treated job seekers terribly. 91% of all resumes and cover letters in America went completely unresponded to over the last decade. Do you know that? Name me one other relationship in your life, personally or professionally, where you've formed great relationships by ignoring 91% of the people who tried to get in touch with you. If your salespeople ignored 91% of the potential customers who wanted to do business with you, you would fire them tomorrow. Is that fair? So what are we doing? What are we doing blaming the job seekers? I use fishing all the time as an example. So let me make this easy for you. Anybody a fishing person here? Okay, avid fishing person, right? What's your name, please? Misty, if you went fishing and you didn't catch any fish and you walked around blaming the fish, people would laugh at you. What are we doing? If you don't have enough customers, your salespeople don't walk around and say, well, goodness, those darn customers, if they only knew that we existed, we would change their lives. Well, how about you go tell them? How about you drop some breadcrumbs? How about you identify whether they can find you or not? And so this first exercise is all about getting your organization to treat a labor shortage with the same urgency of a safety or a quality issue of the same magnitude. Let me demonstrate. Who came up with the name of a job? There's a book in it for you. Who came up with the name of a job and what you believe the cost of having that job open for a given year is, please? Please? What is your name?
My name is Angie Herding.
Hi, Angie. What job did you identify, and what do you believe, in your opinion, is the cost of having that position open for a given year?
We have a grant writing position open, $2 million.
$2 million. All right, awesome. Now, let me ask you a question. If your organization, whatever it was, had a $2 million safety issue going on right now, how would you guys be reacting to it?
Like we were a fire.
Yeah, all hands on deck, right? Like white on rice, like cold on ice. There would not be a day that started or ended with talking about how we dealt with that $2 million safety problem. If you had a $2 million quality issue, and by the way, if you just wrote out a number that's 20 grand or 30 grand, just do the math in your own head. If anybody here have like 3 positions open and you believe that the cost was $30,000 a year, anybody in that ballpark? You still have a $90,000 problem. Are you acting to solve this problem with the same urgency of a safety or a quality issue of the same, or you just say, nah, it's the world's fault, I saw it on CNN. Yeah, nobody wants to work, everybody's late. Stop. You're too smart for that. So my first exercise for you is go back to your organization, list the number of positions you have open, identify the cost of each open position, multiply those together, and denote on your P&L on a line item, here is the cost of our talent shortage today, and start talking about your $3 million talent shortage. Start talking about our $400,000 talent issue. Because if you don't, I promise you, people are just going to point, well, we don't have enough people, but nobody wants to work and everybody's lazy. It's the world's fault and there's nothing we can do. Because for some of you, you're creating your own retention issues, aren't you? Well, we don't have enough people, so we'll just work everybody mandatory overtime. How's that working for you? Well, we're working people a ton of overtime so that we can get our products out for our customers, because our customers are the most important thing. Yeah, only if you have people to serve them. For 30 years, customers always right. You know why we could say that? Because there was always enough people to deliver the product or service. You know who your new customer is? Listen, I'm not saying they have the advantage. Don't get into any of that stuff. Well, they're just taking advantage of. How about we just say we're on equal ground for the first time in 40 years? By the way, the cost of losing, according to SHRM, the Society for Human Resources Managers, the cost of losing and replacing employees is 40% of their annual wages minus benefits. Where are you tracking that currently? Or are you tracking that? It's not a hidden cost. Tell me it's a hidden cost the next time the shipment doesn't go out. Next time you get a customer complaint and they're mad on the phone and they decide they're going to go do business with somebody else. Tell me that's a hidden cost. Listen, we have been talking about this in vague generalities for a decade. There has to be winners and losers. The first thing to get the urgency of your organization is identify the cost of doing nothing. Identify the cost of doing nothing. Because I want somebody, listen, because somebody defends your P&L every month, don't they? Somebody sits in front of a board of directors or the family or the owners and defends the P&L every single month. Is that fair? Everybody nod, smile, do something, please. And so when we make that as a denotation on your P&L, the board of directors, the owners of the family will say, we have a $2.1 million tab. Well, what are we doing about that? Well, I don't know. I guess we could. Well, of course you need to put some resources towards that. But you've got to change people's mindset first. Make it a real issue. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because you've heard a lot about the talent shortage, but let me tell you, this is a talent shortage around the world. The only two countries without this problem, Mexico and India. Only two without a shrinking demographic. So let's do simple math. The baby boomer generation, my generation, the one that's retiring at 10,000 a day, 75.4 million people, largest generation in the history of the country, provided virtually unlimited labor for the last 40 years. We never even had to think of the possibility that if we posted a perfectly good job with perfectly good pay and perfectly good benefits, that a line wouldn't form. If you want a moment here for you, to see that this is real, just take a look at these two numbers. Right? I don't know how to make this hard for you. I really don't. Sesame Street would tell you that one of these things is not like the other. When you're having trouble finding the typical 39 to 56-year-old mid-career professional person, quality manager, safety manager, CEO, whatever that person is, somebody to run your business, it's not because nobody's lazy or nobody wants to work, because there's 8.5 million less of them. In real terms, if your vendor came to you and said, listen, we've been supplying you as a raw material 75.4 million lineal feet of raw material for the last 40 years, but starting next year, we can only supply you 65.9 million lineal feet of that raw material, you wouldn't blame the government. You certainly wouldn't blame the raw material. You would say, oh my gosh, there's a shortage of raw material. We better get ours before other people get theirs. And that's where we are. Now, there's a couple things that's important for you to understand. 3 generations make up a workforce. I'll do simple math with you. People are in the workforce about 50 years. Can we agree to that? 16 to 66, 17 to 67, whatever. Each generation is 17 years, which means we need 3 17-year generations to make up a 50-year workforce. Everybody okay? Cool? For the last 40 years, those 3 generations are these 3. 75.4 million, 65.9 million, 76.8 million, a total available workforce of 218 million people. In 2.5 years, you think it's bad today? Again, you can all fix it, but I got to scare you into action first. If you think it's bad today, in 2.5 years, 93% of my generation, the largest generation in the history of the country, is out of the workforce full time. I mean, we'll travel and speak a little bit. We'll run some meetings. We'll do some consulting. But all you have to do to see what's coming is take this number out, right? 1, 2, 3. Now take this number out and replace it with that number. We no longer have 218 million people in available workforce. We have 210 million. We are 8 million people short for the next decade. And by the way, as a nod to some of the things that came up earlier, people ask me all the time, well, Chris, how do you fix that? Well, first of all, how about we get people in the right jobs? The first gap is not, it takes time to bring people in. It takes time to bring people and relocate them. Here's what we can do tomorrow. That young lady who's in the pit of the 10-minute oil change place, she's producing about $40 an hour worth of value. But her potential, her skills, her abilities, her mechanical aptitude to run your machine is $190 an hour. That gap, getting the person who used to create $40 worth of value an hour to $190 worth of value, that's the first and easiest gap for you to fill. Square pegs in square holes. Now, let me explain to you why that's important. Nobody has ever taught job seekers how to find you. Have a moment with me. Everybody in this room who had a class in high school, college, or your master's program that taught you to figure out where you should go to work based on your personality type, your skills, your abilities, the problems you solve, how to identify all the companies within a 30-mile radius that have the kind of problems that you have, how to identify the value of coming to work for you, solving those problems that they're greater than the cost of your pay and benefits, and how to out-interview the other 27 people who apply for that job. A research project to figure out where your skills and abilities fit and where your best fit is with companies in your geographical radius. Everybody who had that class, please raise your, raise them really high. Are you having a moment with me? Nobody ever taught anybody how to find you. You mistakenly think that people in jobs are in jobs they want. Please write down this phrase. People are not in the job they want, they're in the job they could get. Let me say that again, because this has enormous ramifications for you. People are not in the job they want, they're in the job they can get. Nobody is rolling burritos because it was their goal as a senior in high school to do that. Nobody's folding sweaters at Kohl's. Now, listen, there are some people who want to work part-time, right, that's a perfect fit for. But the vast majority of people who are working part-time, the vast majority of people who are working without benefits do not want to be there, but they don't know how to find you. And more importantly, we spent the last decade ghosting 91% of the ones who tried to get in touch with us. So how about we teach them how to find you? I'm going to give you a couple of tools to do exactly that. Here's another thing that's fascinating. You cannot win this war for talent with money. There is no way. Stop with this, we don't pay enough money. All you have to do is to make sure that you're in the 45th to the 65th percentile of the normal prevailing wage by the geographical radius in your line of work, or SIC code. What does that mean? Go look at job ads that compete with yours and see if you compete. If you don't, do something about it. If you do, then work on the stuff I'm about to give you. Stop with the money thing. Listen, 22,000 job searches in, I can tell you that there is not one job search in 17 years that started like this. Well, I love my company, I love my boss, I love my job, I feel well taken care of, I have a great development opportunity, I feel really valued, decent pay, decent benefits, and a clear opportunity to grow. But I think just for fun, I'm going to go on Monster and Indeed and send a resume to a person I've never met at a company I've never heard of for a job they've never done on the hopes that my life might get better for $4 an hour and more in pay. Anybody do that? Anybody in this room? I want you to have a moment. I know you've all changed jobs from one place to another. Congratulations. I hope you're in the job of your dreams. Did any of you leave your job perfectly happy and go to work with a bunch of strangers? You left all your friends and everything you know behind, and you left all your strangers for $3 or $4 more an hour and crossed your fingers and hope your life would be better. Anybody? Maybe one. We got 2 out of 60. That's a solid 3%. You know why people leave? If you want to write down a phrase that has become really connected with me all over the country and now all over the world, when people stop learning, they start leaving. It's especially true for later millennials and Generation Zs. When people stop learning, they start leaving. I'm going to explain a lot more to you about that. But guys, nobody's on Monster and Indeed looking for a job because they're happy. Can we agree that nobody's on Monster and Indeed as a hobby? Nobody's on there because they're happy. They're happy. They're on there because something happened today. They had a bad boss. They got passed over for a promotion. They're on the wrong shift. They got put on mandatory overtime. They have to choose between their family and their job. They're put in an impossible place. They didn't get the raise they were hoping to, right? The shift is causing a child care issue for them. Everybody who's on Monster Indeed is on there because they're unhappy or dissatisfied in some way. How about we meet them there? We're going to do a really fun exercise. Well, it's fun for me. It's not going to be fun for you, but it will be very enlightening for you. So before I do that exercise, let me have a moment with you. If you didn't walk in the room with this idea, I'm going to really suggest you leave with this idea. Number 2 things that you have to come to, and they're both very uncomfortable, but will make it possible for you to make the changes you're needed. Number 1, in order for your organization to win the war for talent, somebody else has to lose. Mathematical certainty. No way around it. If you don't think this is competition, then you have not been paying attention. But number 2 is the really hard one. It's a really hard one, especially for business owners. For perhaps the first time in your business life, you need people more than they need your job and your money. Oh, he just said it out loud. Yup. Why would anybody think it would be hard to change jobs today? Listen, my friend over here, we're in the same age bracket, roughly, right? Right? We didn't change jobs all the time. Good God, our parents, our grandparents grew up in the Great Depression. For goodness sake, any job was a good job. In 1987, if you had gone to your parents and said, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm just going to leave my job. I don't have another one lined up, but I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel like my best personal self when I'm at work, and I don't feel like I'm adding the most I possibly can to the economy. And so I'm going to leave. I'm going to go find myself and just see how it works out. How might your parents have reacted to that, sir? I grew up in a farm family of 10 in Appleton, Wisconsin. My dad would have kicked my butt so hard I could have tasted leather. But why would anybody be afraid of changing jobs today? Listen, if you're my age, you best pay attention to this. You cannot apply our ideas about jobs and staying at work and job security today. There's 11.1 million open jobs. There's only 6.1 million unemployed people. We're still 90,000 jobs short of where we were before the pandemic started. And you can't open a car door without hitting 2 now hiring signs. Why would anybody be afraid of leaving a job today? What's interesting is millennials leave companies. This is Sherm's data, not mine. Millennials leave companies every 3.4 years. Over the last 18 years, they're no longer mystical. We've been talking about them for 20 years, the millennial generation, like they're Martians or something. We've had them in the workforce for 18 years. We know exactly who they are. And they change jobs every 3.4 years. One of my millennials in the room. They don't want to leave you, though. Do not leave here and say, well, there's nothing I can do. This loud guy from Appleton said that they change every 3.4 years. There's nothing I can do. That is not true at all. That's the idea. When they stop learning, they start leaving. Why? Because they're the first generation who doesn't know a world without Google. They have had combined access to the combined knowledge of the history of the world since they were 5. They are constantly in a learning state. We weren't, right, sir? We didn't have access. We had to walk to the library when it was 10 below, through the snow, uphill both ways to get that 4-year-old set of Encyclopedia Britannicas to do research, right? How hard is it to find information on a new job today? 11.1 million open jobs, only 6.1 million unemployed people. How many hiring signs did you see on the way here? But they don't want to leave you. They want to stay. And I'm going to give you some tools to teach them how to do that. Keep this in mind. What I'm asking you to do is not fulfill, listen, there are great programs. I didn't even know some of the programs we talked about this morning. I'm telling you, if you don't lean into these guys, I don't know what's wrong with you. They know stuff I don't know, and I'm like the national expert on it. But this idea, the gap is not first between unemployed to employed. That clearly is a gap we can fill today. We just learned about that this morning. The gap is higher levels of value creation, higher levels of jobs for people. But we got to teach them how to find us. Here's the next exercise you're going to not like. I promise you'll swear at me before you swear by me, because I'm going to ask you to do some difficult stuff. I have a simple question for you that we're going to audit in real time on your phones. Please get your phones ready, because we're literally going to audit your efforts to find employees right now in real time. I have a question for you. You know there are great people out there. You wish they were applying for your jobs. I have a simple question. Are they unwilling or unable to do so? Here's a free management technique for you. Anytime somebody doesn't do something you want them to do, a customer, an employee, a spouse, significant other, teenager, whatever, and they tell you they couldn't do something. Couldn't is a key word. It's a trigger word. The next question you should ask is, were they unwilling or unable to do it? Let me define terms. Unable means that somebody is physically or mentally unable to do this thing you want them to do. They want to do it. They're highly motivated to do it, but they physically or mentally can't do it. I didn't start my clock, so you guys are going to have to wave me down, because I'll go on all day if you let me. Listen, you could put a 500-pound rock in front of me and $500,000 in front of that and say, Chris, if you will lift that 500-pound rock with your bare hands, I'll give you that $500,000. I promise you I'm willing. But I am what? I'm unable. Unless I get more tools, unless I get help, unless I get some kind of crane. But unwilling's different. Unwilling means they could have done it, but made a value-based decision to do something else. So here's a simple question for all of you. For job seekers you wish were applying for your jobs but aren't currently, are they unable? In other words, they don't know your company exists and they didn't see your job ad, can't apply for a job you don't exist, and you can't go to work for a company that you don't know exists. Or are they unwilling? Unwilling means they saw your job ad. They know your company exists, but they made a value-based decision to apply somewhere else. Which do you think is true? Do me a favor, write down on the sheet in front of you. Do you believe that the people that you wish were applying for your open positions and are not currently applying for them, do you believe that they are currently unwilling or unable to do so? And then we're going to test it in real time. Unable means you think that they didn't know your company existed and didn't see your job ad. Unwilling means they saw your job ad, they know your company exists, but they made a value-based decision not to apply. Well, let's test it in real time, shall we? Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to go on your phones. By the way, this is the next exercise I want you to recreate inside your organization. I would like you to go on your phones, and I'd like you to be the job seekers for a moment. Be the fish. What I'd like you to do is go on whatever website you currently use to advertise. You spend your most time and effort and money advertising your open positions, or the last position that you've had open. If you don't have any jobs open today, you don't have any advertising, just go look for the last job that you had advertised. Go to the main site. Go to the homepage of Monster. Go to the homepage of Indeed, LinkedIn, right? Southwest has jobs. Wherever you are currently advertising your jobs, and I'd like you to try to find your job ad without using the name of your company. There are some 11,000 organizations within 30 miles of this building. How many of them could you name? I know you know your company exists, because you have jackets with the name of your company on it, and every email you send has the name of your company in it, and every check you get has the name of the company on it. But I'm telling you, the vast majority of the world couldn't find your company with a map and a gun to their head. If you don't think that's true, just go ask your people. Go back to your people and ask them, what did you know about this company the day before you saw our job ad or we reached out to you? Ask yourself that question right this moment. What did you know about the company you currently work for the day before you saw the job ad or somebody from the company reached out to you? You having a moment with me? So try to find your job ad. I don't want to interrupt you. You're either going to be thrilled to death or go, oh my gosh, we really have work to do. But all I want you to do is whatever job you identified first, remember I asked you to identify a job and a cost of the open position, go look for that job. Without using the name of the company, machine operator, truck driver, CTO, CFO, customer service rep, whatever that thing was, go to wherever, and I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here. I'm letting you go to the whatever website you are currently using and spending your most time and effort. Go find your job ad without using the name of your company. And you're starting to see what my job seekers see. Is anybody searching for their job and they found it very easily? It's at the top half of the first page and it looks very different than all the other competing job ads. See, I saw your hand go up and I saw it go down. Well done. Have this, listen, instead of guessing whether people are unwilling or unable, I'm giving you the exercise. Go recreate this inside your organization. Listen, Google Analytics tell us that only 2% of people go to the second page of any Google result. If you're not on the first page, you don't exist. Don't take my word for it. Think about the last time you went on Amazon and you put in electric toothbrushes. How many pages did you go into the results before you made a choice? That's what's going on. So how many people found their job ad super easily? Solid 6%. Now, for those of you who found your job ad, congratulations, well done. Now what I'd like everybody to do whatever it takes to find your job ad purposely. If you have to use the name of your company, totally cool. By the way, if you couldn't find it earlier, that's a moment. Clearly got to fix that. But second of all, go find your job, do whatever it takes to find your job ad, and now I want you to compare your job ad with the 2 job ads above it and the 2 job ads below it that are competing for the attention of the exact same person. And write yourself some notes right here in this moment in Platteville, Wisconsin, whether you believe people are unwilling or unable to come to work for you. Write yourself some notes. Why would you apply for your job instead of the other 4? All I'm asking you to do is audit your own process. Look at you turning over another page of notes. Well done. There's got to be a book in there for you. I got to tell you, that's pretty good. Well, no, you just write. Well, then you don't. Can I offer? Okay, cool. Thank you. Somebody tell me what you're seeing. Remember, I can't see what's on your phone. Somebody, good or bad. Listen, I'm not critiquing you. I don't know what you see. I never know what people are going to see. I'm just asking you to audit your own process. Go look for your own job and see if you would apply for your job instead of the other 4. Somebody explain to me what you're seeing on your screen, please. Good or bad. Doesn't make any difference to me. All valuable. And now we turn into 5th graders and we look at the table. Please.
One thing I saw was the day in the life.
Oh, can you say that really loud, please?
A day in the life.
So in other words, what they've done is say, if you want to know what it's like to be a, what? What was the job?
Accountant.
If you want to know what it's like being an accountant here, here's what it looks like. Why? Because, if you'll accept that, you're welcome. Because my job seekers have never been in your company. You're asking, guys, sorry, I'll take it down a notch. See, here's what you don't know about me. I'm not really here to help you. Don't take offense. I'm here to help my job seekers. When I help you find great people, I'm really helping my job seekers find the right place for them to be and create the most value they possibly can. So I love you all, but I have a hidden agenda. What they described is, if you're considering leaving all of your friends behind, if you're considering leaving all your computer work behind, remember, that's what you're asking people to do. Come to work for us, which really means leave all your friends behind, leave everything you know behind, leave all your institutional knowledge behind. You know where to park, you know where to go, you know who to hang out with, you know your customers, you know your vendors. We want you to leave all of that behind and come to work for a place in a company that you've never heard of, in a job you've never done with people you don't know. Have that mindset. And so that's a cool thing, isn't it? If you want to know what it's like to work here, let us explain it to you. Why are they doing that? Well, let me ask you a simple question. If we're advertising an accounting job, why would we have to explain to people what accounting is? Why would we list duties, responsibilities, authorities, tasks, and deliverables of an accountant? If we're looking for a welder, do we have to explain to them what welding is? Oh my God, you guys don't know this. My people who came to Monster Indeed and saw your job ad are unhappy enough in their current role to leave all their friends and everything they know. That's the current emotional state they're in. Please write down this phrase. Job change is an emotional decision, not a financial one. You got to stop trying to bribe happy people to leave their happy jobs and their happy friends and come to work for you for $3 more an hour. Stop it. It's a bad plan. And more importantly, you're creating your own inflation. Owners across the country, where's all this wage inflation coming from? I don't know. The only tool you're using to get people in is trying to bribe them away, and you use $1, and then you up it $1, and you up it $1, and now you're asking me where the wage inflation comes from. When in this room, you guys told me that the reason you changed your last job was not money. Now, let me be clear. You got to be in the ballpark, but that's easy to audit, right? Just look at the competing job ads, make sure you're in the 45th to the 60th percentile. But more importantly, job seekers forever talk about when they change jobs, yeah, I make $7,000 more a year. Yeah, but that's not why they started looking, did they? Think about the last job change you made. Make this personal for yourself. Think of the last job change you made. Tell me something else wasn't going on other than money. You had a bad boss. You get passed over for a promotion. The culture was toxic. You were on the wrong shift. Your spouse or significant other arguing about the fact that you were choosing the job over your family. You had an argument about missing too many baseball games, too many softball games. Tell me something else wasn't going on. How about we meet people with our job ad in that exact place? You want to hear my favorite job ad ever? Ready? Fire your horrible boss. That's okay. You should laugh. Why wouldn't you laugh? Why would we, you looked at the job ads, right? And they all said at the top, accountant. Why would you do that? The most valuable thing in your job ad, the most valuable real estate in your job ad is the first line. Why would you make it look like everybody else's? Fire your horrible boss. Anybody in here ever have a bad boss? You don't have to, if they're in the room, you don't have to raise your hand, by the way. How do I know that that works? First of all, many of you have had bosses in your life that you would love to have fired, but you had no idea whether there was going to be a better boss. You're like, well, wait a second, I work in manufacturing, and I have a bad boss, but in manufacturing, bosses are all probably pretty bad, so I might as well just stay and be unhappy with people I already know. But imagine if you were searching through all of those jobs you just looked at, because you just looked at all the jobs, and one of them said, fire your horrible boss, and you had a horrible boss. You think that might capture your attention? I'm going to give you 5 questions to ask your people to figure out how you got them. And I'm going to ask you to gather data from your own people. I'm not asking you to do some complicated marketing strategy. I'm asking you to go talk to fish and ask them how you caught them. Let me tell you why fire your horrible boss works. You won't get it. It's just an age thing. Where are my brethren? All right. What's your name? Let's go to a young lady. Oh, hi, Judy. She's freaking out right now. He's coming right at me. Judy, it's okay. We're all friends here. In 1974, Johnny Paycheck wrote a million-selling song. It is not a clever song. As a matter of fact, if you listen to it, the words are not good. The music is not clever. It's a country song you can barely dance to. But in 1974, when nobody sold 1 million copies, his record sold 1 million copies when only the Beatles were selling 1 million copies. But because it touched the nerve of unhappy job seekers who were frustrated with their manager, it sold 1 million copies. Do you remember what the name of that song was? Anyone? Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more. You did great, Judy. Before there was Google, before there was iTunes, before there was any way to figure out how songs got out there, Johnny Paycheck with a very average song. How many people here have heard that song? You weren't even born. But you've still heard of it, haven't you? Why? Because that emotion, remember I told you job change is an emotional decision, not a financial one? That emotion, I want to fire my horrible boss, has been in the lexicon of job seekers for 50 years. So how about you meet them where they are? How about this job ad? I'll give you another one for free. It's time to choose your family over your job. Does that speak to anybody here? Touch any nerves here? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? Awesome. Because you've had those arguments at home when you worked at a bad place, right? Who wasn't flexible, and you said, your spouse, your wife, your significant other, your husband came to you and said, listen, you got to find a different job. You come home, you yell at the kids, you kick the dog, you won't talk to me, you sit on the couch and you watch reruns over and over and you complain about going back to work at this place that you tell me you hate. You are choosing a job you tell me you hate over a family you tell me you love. Make a choice. Tell me that's not an emotional decision. And so I want you to meet people where they are. But in order to do that, you have some work to do. Here's the next exercise for you. I'd like you to create a persona of your ideal applicant. Some of you aren't writing. That confuses me. I'm not teaching you a Chris Czarnik method. I'm teaching you marketing for the last 40 years. Where are my marketing scholars in the room? Anybody know what the term persona means? Sir, can I ask what persona means?
Like a typology, just a really rich description of an audience you're trying to target.
Exactly. How about this? How about, you did great. Let me make it easier for everybody. A persona, if you're trying to explain it to somebody, is a fictional model of your ideal applicant or customer. Pretty close? A persona is a fictional model of your ideal applicant or customer. Why? Listen, every one of you have a persona of your ideal customer, don't you? You know exactly who your best customers are. You know the geographical radius, you know the SIC code, you know the industry that they're in, you know the size of the company, you know the ownership structure of it, you know the changes that going in their organization that made them to need your products and services, don't you? What do you know about the last 3 people you hired? Can you tell me why they left their last job and came to you? Well, you're about to be able to. I mean, did they have a baby? Did they buy a house? Did they have a bad boss? How can you speak to people emotionally unless you go ask your own people why they were emotionally motivated to change jobs? Listen, if you do the work I'm asking you to do, I'm telling you, the job ads write themselves. Personas are everywhere. Not only are you good at it, not only do you do it all day long every single day for your customers, but personas are the way they sold you that watch and this carpet and this chair. I'm trying to put this in terms that everybody will get. Okay. So I'm a car guy. No, I'm like a freak show car guy. Like off the deep end, solid double off the left field wall car guy. Like I love cars. I drive a really nice car. If you go out in the parking lot, you'll know which car is mine. It's a cool car, but it's not my dream car. My dream car is a 2018 Porsche 911 GT3 Touring, not Cup. I don't know if that means anything to anyone in the room. What's that? Not a thing? Well, let me put it in terms you can understand. When Porsche in 2014 decided they were going to spend $250 million to change one of the most iconic cars in the history of automobiles, the Porsche 911, to build a $148,000, 475 horsepower, 2-seat car, tell me they didn't know who they were going to sell it to first. Of course they did. They would never make a commitment like that unless they could clearly identify who was going to buy it. And so when they built the persona for that $148,000, 475 horsepower, 2-seat car, they built a persona of their ideal customer. That persona looks a lot like me. 60-year-old single guy, kids are all grown, lots of disposable income, used to be attractive on my own, now I need a cool car to show up at the party and be attractive. It's okay. It really is. It's a circle of life thing. You'll all get there. It's cool. What they know about me is that when I buy a car, I couldn't care less about reliability. What they know about me at 60 is I have worked with my spouse, significant other, my ex-spouse, to provide education and clothing and housing for everybody else, and I'll be damned if I'm not going to have one nice thing just for me before I die. That's a real thing. Look at the grins on some of the people my age in this room. I'll be damned if I'm not having one thing just for me. And so when I buy a car, all that matters to me is when I pull into the parking lot, do people notice? Judge me all you want. They built it for me, not for you. For you, they they built an SUV, or they built a minivan, or they bought a Toyota. Guys, Toyota currently sells 15 models of cars, and there are 16 personality types. Do you think that's a coincidence? They're the largest manufacturer of cars in the history of the world, and they currently sell virtually one car for every personality type out there. I'm going to give you a tool in just a moment. If you think people only go to work for money, just like people only buy cars for financial considerations, we would have the Toyota Corolla, and that's it. It's a great car. Where are my Toyota owners in the room? Be proud. I love Toyotas. They're probably the best cars in the history of the world. But they're not going to win any auto shows. I mean, in 20 years, they're not going to be classics, but that's not what you bought them for, right? You bought it because, go ahead. I got it, right? Oh, there's aspirational stuff. Because at this point in your life,
There you go.
at this point in your life, the reason you bought cars changed. So if they better know who they're going to buy their cars. Is that making sense to everybody? So if you can't create this persona of your ideal new applicant, you haven't even started trying. Let me give you a tool. Personality type. Please write this down. There's a site, a free site. You can use it anytime you want. I've used it at least 10,000 times in my life. It's called 16personalities.com. 16. It's the number 16. 16personalities.com. It's an 8-minute Myers-Briggs test for free anytime you want it. It's crazy. You can take this and get the personality type of your best people. Go find your very best, give this to all of your best employees, identify their personality type, and then you can look at the words and phrases and concepts that that personality type finds valuable in a job, and you can fill your job ad with those concepts. There's a lot more to that, but just go play with it. Go take it this afternoon. Go vet it. See if I'm right. Listen, it's not like Myers-Briggs. It is Myers-Briggs for free anytime you want. I don't know how they did it. There must have been a lawsuit. There must be an agreement. But I'm telling you, go take it this afternoon, vet it, see if it's right, and then go give it to your spouse or significant other. Go test it again. If you want to know why your spouse or significant other, you and your spouse have that same argument every 6 weeks that never resolves itself, you'll know now. But how about you give this to your very best employees? Find out their personality type, the 2 personality types out of 16 that are ideal for your job, and then just put in the phrase, just search Google for the words, phrases, and concepts that those people want in their job. I'm telling you this information, it's free, it's available anytime you want, and it makes me crazy we don't teach this anywhere else. Flux. Please write down the word flux. Flux equals change. Do you know what changed in the last 3 people you hired? Do you know what changed in their life that caused them to start a job search? And if not, how can you recreate that? If you don't know how it happened, how can you recreate it? Flux means that there are certain life circumstances and situations that cause people to reevaluate everything in their life, including their job. Here are the top 5, by the way. Prepare to copy. Number 1 is marriage, which logically means number 2 is divorce. Number 3, birth of a first child. Number 4, purchase of a residence. And number 5, a schedule that makes you choose between your family and your job. I'll say them again one more time, because think about using these ideas in your job ads. I mean, I do workshops all across the country, and I teach companies how to build these 4-person teams to spearhead their recruiting efforts and write the job ads. But how about you just get started, right? Marriage, divorce, birth of a first child, purchase of a residence, and a schedule that makes you choose between your job and your family. Anybody see yourself in those 5 events? They made you reevaluate virtually everything, and you can lean into those things. Really quick story. I worked with a really big company in Saginaw, Michigan. I promise you have heard of them. They couldn't get 18 to 25-year-old people to come to work and run their machines in a climate-controlled environment. Very nice place. And so I interviewed them. I interviewed the last 9 people. And I said, listen, you used to be irresponsible teenagers working 10 hours a week at Walgreens so you could put gas in your crotch rocket and drink on the weekends, and then something happened, and then all of a sudden you needed a good job with good pay and benefits, but because you had no education after high school, you didn't know what you could do to make a decent living. So what happened? What changed in your life that caused you to not be that irresponsible teenager anymore, and you had to find a good job with good pay and benefits? 7 out of 9 of them said it was the birth of my first child. So when I knew that, guess what we did? I helped that organization create relationships with the 2 largest maternity wards in Saginaw, Michigan. We gave out gift baskets. And those gift baskets had diapers, and they had baby powder, and they had baby salve, and they had a job ad that says, come build a new home for your new family while you keep other families safe and dry. No experience preferred. We filled 17 positions in 90 days. In an environment where they brought me in because they couldn't get anybody to apply. You got to know where the fish are before you can go fishing. Now, I know I'm pushing my time. Do I have a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Thank you very much. Golly gee. Hobbies. Please write this down. Go find out the hobbies of your best employees and then advertise those hobbies in your job ad. If you love these hobbies, you'll love this job. Come ask us how we know. That's your next job ad. Why? Your hobbies are who you are when nobody's looking. Your hobbies represent who you are and who you want to be. It's how you spend your time. It's how you calm you. And so think about, if you have a hobby, think about the people you hang out with have the same hobby and tell me they don't have the same rough personality type that you have. Same things are important, right? Your hobbies are, you got to, listen, my people don't know your company. They have no idea if they fit. They're about to leave all their friends to come work with a bunch of strangers. How about you tell them that we have people just like you here? My job seekers are not concerned whether they're going to be a good machine operator. That's not their first concern. Their first concern is, will anybody sit with me at lunch on the second day? Just like in 3rd grade, will anybody choose me to play kickball on their team? That's the emotional decision you have to help them make. I know you're leaving all your friends and everybody home, but let me show you in the job ad, we got people just like you. If you love these hobbies, you'll love this job. Come ask us how we know, which leads me to the next idea. Please write it down. Good job ads are about creating questions, not answering them. You looked at the competing job ads. They all looked the same. Why would you give my people everything they need to compare your job with everybody else's without talking to you? All of your strength and hiring power exists in getting them to talk to you, right? If you can get them to your plant, if you haven't talked to your people, if you get them to see your organization, you can get them, can't you? So do what big companies do. Job ads, good job ads create questions you can only answer by interacting with them in some way. Well, Chris, if that was true, we'd see it all over the world. Yes, we do. Nike's tagline, perhaps the most celebrated tagline in the history of the marketing, is just do it. Let me ask you a simple question. What does just do it tell you about their products, their service, their pricing, their quality, or their place in the competitive marketplace? Nothing. But it does get you to ask a question, doesn't it? A question you can only answer by interacting with Nike in some way. Just do it. And we say, well, what should I do? What can I do with Nike products? And Nike says, well, we'd love to show you, but in order to show you, you're going to have to come into Dick's or Shields Sporting Goods. You're going to have to go to Nike.com, or you're going to have to talk to somebody who's purchased Nike products. They created a question you can only answer by interacting with them in some way. McDonald's, I'm loving it. Seriously. I mean, tell me you didn't hear that slogan and go, man, I hope they didn't pay a lot for that. It's actually brilliant. Because it creates a question you can only answer by interacting with McDonald's in some way. They say, I'm loving it. And you say, well, what are people loving there? Can I love something there? I would like to love something. McDonald's says, we'd love to show you what people are loving here, but in order to show you, you're going to have to what? Come into McDonald's. Come to the drive-thru. I'm loving it doesn't tell you anything about the nutritional value, the pricing, or the cleanliness of the bathroom or dining room inside the store. But it does get you to ask a question you can only answer by interacting with them in some way. Walmart, save money, live better? You got to be kidding me. Every time I've tried to live better, it costs me more. Like, how can you save money and live better? Walmart says, listen, we'd love to show you, but you're going to have to what? Come talk to us. You starting to see a trend here? If you write a job ad that looks like all the other job ads, and the only variable is pay, you can't be mad at my job seekers for going to the one that pays the most. It's the only variable you gave them. Right? If we went shopping for ice cream, and we went in the aisle, and all the ice cream in the aisle was vanilla, and it was all in the same packaging, and the same size, and the same nutritional value, same graphics, same everything, if that's what was in front of us, you and I would choose the one that cost the least. So how can you be mad at my job seekers for chasing the thing that pays the most, if it's the only variable you gave them? And it's not, by the way, why they came to Monster and Indeed today to look for a job anyway. They came to Monster and Indeed because something's wrong with their life. Their life ain't working right now. Missing their kids, can't find childcare, bad boss, wrong job, nobody taught them how to find the right job. And so let me leave you with this. Your last assignment. I will never know if you do it, but there will be winners and there will be losers. You do you. You decide who you're going to be. How about you go ask the last employees you've hired in the last 2 years these 5 questions. And these 5 questions will guide all of your marketing. It will tell you where to advertise. It will tell you what to say. It will tell you why your job is better than the others. Here are the 5 questions. Number 1, what job or industry did you leave to come here? That's an important moment. Because for 40 years we told people, don't you dare try and leave your industry and come to ours. Got to have 3 years experience, must have 4 years of education. You have super talented people who came to work for you from a different industry, didn't you? Ask your people that you hired over the last 2 years, what job or industry did you leave? We call this concept changing lanes. In your job ad, you're going to say, our last 3 great employees came from these completely non-related industries. If that sounds like you, then you sound like us. My guess is, sir, that you're machine operators. Is it Saputo? Is that right? What organization are you with? Rockwell Automation, all right. My guess is not every employee has been in manufacturing their entire life. Is that fair? Why in the world would my people think that they can apply to an amazing, huge place like Rockwell if they don't have any experience running machines? We know they can, right? Right, Noah? We know they can, but they don't unless you tell them. Unless in your job ad you say, our last 3 great machine operators came from a florist, came from a body shop, and came out of government service. If that sounds like you, then you sound like us. I'm cracking somebody up over there. I don't know what I said, but I hope it's funny. Next question. What changed in your life personally or professionally that caused you to start a job search? Go ask them, what changed? And when you find out what changed, then you can put that in your job ad. If you're unhappy in your current job for this reason, we are the answer. I'll give you one more free one. Remember the old saying from job seekers? How do you get a job without experience? And how do you get experience without a job, right? How about this ad? How do you get a job without experience? You get your experience here. What search tools did you use to do your job search? Go ask your own people. Did they use Monster? Did they use Indeed? Did they use a staffing agency? If you used electronic tools, if you did your search online, what words and phrases did you put into the search engine that led you to our job? So we can recreate it over and over again. And lastly, what is one great thing about working here that's got to be in our job? Now, you didn't know this before you got here, but now that you're here, what's one amazing thing about working here that has to be in our job ad? You looked at all the competing job ads. They all looked the same because they forced you into a template. And the stated goal of a template is what? To make everything look the same. Why are you accepting that? If you were marketing your products and services and the marketing company you went to work said, well, we'll advertise your stuff, but it has to be in this format, it can only be in this template, you'd tell them, you'd leave. So go ask your people these questions. They will love to tell you. You know how I know? Because everybody's favorite thing to talk about is what? Themselves. And if you say to them, you don't just walk up with this list and say, hey, answer these. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, listen, we'd love having you here, right? To my friends who own this hotel, to that amazing young lady. These are the 5. You want 4 more people just like her? Go ask her these questions. See, what you don't know is you think you're this far from great employees, and for 20 years, I can tell you you're this close. They drive past your place every day. My friends at Rockwell, talented people who are going on the way to that 10-minute oil change place, drive past Rockwell every day and say, well, it's too bad my skills aren't enough to work at a great place like Rockwell. And you're on the other side going, man, if we can only get people who have mechanical aptitude, like somebody who does, works on cars as a hobby, or even works at a 10-minute oil. Do you see how close you are? But if you don't do this, they're not coming. Because nobody taught them how to find you. You've got to stop waiting for people. You don't wait for customers. You don't wait for vendors. As a matter of fact, if I did my job right today, my grand hope is that you're going to leave here and go, really? Honestly? We've been doing this for the last 20 years in our business. Yes, you have. Last slide, and then I'll be done. If you can't answer these 5 questions about your job opportunity, you got no business writing a job ad. What I learned, I spent a year analyzing the way billion-dollar companies sell us everything. Porsche, Ford, Princess Cruise Lines, Disney, Google. Fascinating. You know what I learned? Every single one of them, before they market a new product or service, they have to be able to answer these 5 questions about their ideal customer or applicant before they will even begin. Can you answer these 5 questions? And if not, you got work to do. But once you answer these 5 questions, I'm telling you what to do, where to post it, what to put. It writes itself. Who are you selling to? And what is their current situation? What problem does coming to work for us solve for them? What caused that problem to occur in the first place so we can anticipate where those people will be and where we should advertise and how we meet them? How does their life get easier or better if they come to work for you? If they leave, remember what you're asking them to do. Leave all your friends behind, leave everything you know behind, and come to work with a bunch of strangers, and we promise your life will get better. How about you tell me how? And then lastly, what emotion? Remember, they came to Monster and Indeed because they were in an emotional state. Job change is an emotional decision, not a financial one. And so what promise can you make them? If you come here, your life will get better in this way, and if that's your problem, then we are your answer. For 40 years, you posted a job ad, a line formed, and you got to choose. Today, it's time to start working as hard for your next employee as you are your next customer. My people desperately want your better jobs. You have great jobs with great opportunities. They're this close. But you've got to close that gap for them. And I'm telling you, once you find them, there's nothing your organization can't do. And if you filled all those roles, what are all the cool things you could get to? What are all the ideas you have in the back of your head that you never get to because you're worried about having the right people, or people made a mistake, or they're not in the right jobs? What could you do if you had the right people in the right seats on the right bus? So there are some tools. I don't know if you'll do it, and I'll never know. Winners and losers. Decide, because my people are waiting for you. Guys, thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you today.